and thank you for joining us on this channel about NAVs. NAVs stand for Narcissistic Abuse Victims and Survivors. My name is Slavika Bogdanov. The intention of this channel is really to help others heal, educate, and also hopefully prevent and bring more awareness about narcissistic abuse. You can join us on Facebook. You will see the link below this video. And also, please go on narcissisticabusevictims.com, where you will have more information about the kind of fundraising that I am doing. Fundraising funds that go actually to other charities, such as CTPSD, Victims' Voice, the Domestic Violence Hotline, and other organizations that help victims, of course, get safely out, and hopefully heal, and hopefully one day thrive. My intention is also to create a fund to help victims. So I want to have a kind of no interest loan where I will be able to lend money to victims, because that's usually a big issue, is that victims cannot get out because they lack the money. Usually the abuser holds the wallet, and so the person cannot get out because of that. And also because I want to help the reinsertion of victims into society. I know a lot of victims don't know what they will do once they get out, how they will make money. And so I want to offer free education, for example, in coding or in secretarial work or in other forms of work where the escapee, where the survivors can at least get some tools to earn money after that, and hopefully even open an e-commerce, a business, or what so. So thank you again for joining us. And today I have my dear Floria. So thank you so much for being here and for joining me today. So the way that it will work, I know it's been a while since you had your encounter with the narcissistic abusive relationship, but I'm grateful that you're sharing and you bring this light, because I believe the more we share, the more we heal. So thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share too.
Thank you. So tell me a little bit, what were the circumstances where you had to live in a narcissistic abusive relationship?
My narcissist was basically my mom. So I grew up in a narcissist family where my mom had been abusive and had all the characteristic of a narcissist mom. But I grew up as a little girl, not knowing what was happening and why I was targeted. And she used to brainwash everybody to harm me in the family and outside, even my close friends. She used to tell them why they come and play with me. As a little girl, I didn't know what was happening. So when I was growing older, I became very suicidal. I tried to attempt to kill myself a few times. And I actually didn't know. I should just go and cry. Never knew whom to tell. I was just totally choked up. I didn't know what was happening, why everyone was against me, what was I doing wrong, because everything I was getting picked up. So till at the age of 16, for my whole life, I suffered, and then I helped with my principal of the school, who actually saw some problem in my family, helped me to leave the school. And I left my home and my family at the age of 13. I was a little girl. I didn't even know what was happening in my life. I just had to take shelter somewhere. So without my mom and dad or my brothers or anybody around me, I left my home on my own, just with the help
of 13, 14, that's really young. That's very courageous.
I either had to, because I was so suicidal, I just didn't know how to live in the house, and I didn't know where else to go. So I come from a very traditional Roman Catholic family. So your mom and dad is looked next to God. So it's very, culture based. So when I had to leave my home and I went and I just did my own admission in a boarding school. I left the day school, and the teachers used to like ask me why you leave such a nice school and come in a boarding school. And I used to just say I love the countryside, because I couldn't even figure out what was the problem and why. I just couldn't understand, and no one could understand for me either what I was doing. And they always blamed me that I was the problem, that I was mischievous, but I was a very nice girl, quiet. I mean, I'm a little girl, always intimidated by. I had 4 brothers older than me, and they were like 10 years, 9 years older. So they used to all beat me up, and I didn't know I was always the problem. Everywhere I was the problem.
That's terrible. So you had how many brothers?
I had 4 brothers,
Oh,
older to me.
wow, that's really difficult. Yeah, I feel for you because my circumstances look very much like yours. So I had only one, but I totally understand where you're coming from. But it's very courageous of you. But I also understand that for you it was a question of a matter of life and death. But to have the wisdom at such an early age to escape is quite something. It's fabulous.
So I didn't know all this, what I was going through. I only know that I just want to kill myself. I just don't wanted to leave. That's all I knew. And I used to just cry. But it happened so that I had a cousin, older cousin, who came to stay for holidays to spend days at our place. And she noticed what was happening to me and noticed how I was treated in the house. And she actually said to me, "Why are you staying here? You can leave the house." And I said, "Go where?" And she recommended me a mother, kind of a nun whom she knew. So she gave me the address and she said, "Go and meet her and tell her that I've given you this number and her name." So I went and I met. I didn't even know why I was going to meet her, but I just went and I met her. And she was her name was Mother Jane, and she realized what I was going through, because I think the cousin, she had told me, "I'm going to tell you to do this, but don't tell my name to your family." You know, she was
Wow.
helping me out. And when I went to Mother Jane, she actually, I didn't know what to tell because I was not aware what was happening to me. I only know that I was not the girl and I was just beaten up and all that stuff. And Mother Jane, she immediately said to me, "I can do your admissions in the boarding school, but you need to have someone elder to come and sign for your admissions, either your mom or dad, but I can't expect your mom and dad to come. Do you know anybody who could come?" And I just didn't know whom. But my dad, sometimes he was not always brainwashed by my mom. He was also sometimes targeted, but he used to work on the ship. So he had some feeling that she was not nice to me. So when he was in Mumbai and he was away, I wrote a letter asking that I'm leaving the home, if he could sign my papers for my admission. And he came down and he signed. So when I was in the boarding school for 2 years, the only person who came to see me was my dad and my neighbors.
Wow. Did your mother and your brothers know that you were in a boarding school? Did they
Oh, they
find out?
knew. They knew.
So they basically rejected you because you made that decision.
They didn't even want it to be around, or.
And when did you figure out that it was narcissism, that it wasn't your fault, that you were not the cause of the problem, but just the victim?
Just recently, it's only after I came to UK. I didn't know what was happening. I was totally lost self-confidence. I was not suicidal, but I was not the same person like others. I used to totally feel intimidated by everybody, and especially women who are in control. in workplace. I used to feel I'm targeted, bullied. Um, and then I realized there is something wrong. It's not normal to live like this. There must be some reason within me that is doing this. But I was always the good. I was the people pleaser. Never said no. Always did everything. It's just like trying to please. And I said, no, I have to learn to draw my boundaries. And that's where in the office, I was working for victim support. And my manager said, no, you got to learn boundaries. And I like, what is boundaries? She used to tell me to say no. And I'm like, what to say no? That's rude. You know what I'm saying? So I had no self at all, no self-image at all. And at this victim support, they send me for aggressive training to build my, trying to make me say no, be aggressive, in the office to say no for a certain. So I slowly started picking up as to myself, realizing my self identities where everyone used to walk over me. And, I used to be people pleaser, never looked into myself, always did everything for everyone, and plus get, bullied and things like that. And 2013, my mom expired. And that's when I realized I was totally mentally like destroyed within, because I didn't have a good memory of her to carry further, to say as a mother. And I didn't know how to close the issue as a mother. It was entering into me that I have to close the chapter of her in my life. And I wanted to be as good as I could to give her a good image of her in my life, but I couldn't. So that's where my whole mental, psychological, chaos started in me mentally. And then I realized I needed help. And I went to depression. And I couldn't afford, mental support, because they're also expensive, counselors and things like that. So then I got online, basically a website that was helping, online with half price, so I did that, and slowly I realized that what I was going through was narcissism.
Wow, that's incredible. It's someone told me that there is the mother that gives birth, and then there's a real mother.
Yes.
And you didn't have the real mother, and maybe the angel of that nun is a symbol of a mother, but somehow we need to, when it's a parent such as a mother, it's to be able to heal from within, knowing that we were born without a mother, and that the mother we had was not the mother that we're supposed to have in life to thrive and grow up happy and joyful, and we basically grew up broken. So I'm grateful that you are today with me, because I hope it enlightens a lot of people to know that you are not the source of the trouble. You are not the cause of the bullying or the cause of the violence, psychological or physical. You are not to blame, right? You are not to blame ever. And it is true what you say about people pleasing. We have a tendency to, because we're born without love, to seek love at any cost. So to forget about any boundaries, because we're so scared that if we say something, we will be rejected.
Yeah.
That we want to do everything to please others, in the hopes that the more we give love, the more we will receive. Where in fact, you deserve to be loved without giving anything. First and foremost, you deserve to be loved unconditionally, first and foremost. And so that I'm grateful that you are here, and that you're open up about this, and hopefully it will open the eyes of, potentially a lot of people that are depressive or suicidal, that don't know where that comes from, that ache, that inner feeling of being, that there's a big hole inside that we cannot fill, and that pain and suffering is so deep rooted, and so painful. People don't understand the pain is real, like it's a physical and a mental pain, that we do try to end it by ending our life, thinking if I end my life, I will end the suffering. And also in my case, it was also the fact, what came a lot in my mind was, life is so bad. I don't want to continue in this life when it's so bad. Get me out of this mess and this misery, right?
Yeah. So surprising you said about, having a mother and not having mother. When I went in the boarding school, actually everyone used to ask me, your mother never comes to see you, or you don't. I used to tell everyone I don't have a mother. My mother's dead. And that came to my mother's ears, that I'm telling everybody that she's dead when she was alive. So I was let a little girl so bitter about the whole episode in my life. So yeah, you're right to say that, it was just a mother, namesake. Giving birth doesn't make a mother.
Exactly. So and now, where are you at now with your life? How is it going with you?
I am still struggling. I'm not saying I totally came out of it. There are times, episode where I lapse back and I try to get back to. There are days where I'm totally feel confident of myself, and then I go back, because this is my growing years. You see, all my growing years have been totally wiped out in that depression of struggle to self-identify myself. So I do struggle. I'm not saying I don't socialize. This last 15 years, I isolated myself for a very long time, not able to cope my own self with people. So I either become overgiver. I'm still learning to learn my boundaries. I still become overgiver, and then I regret because I've given over and I have not looked after myself. So I just disconnect from the world, but then it's not healthy again, because I've been living 15 years, without much socializing and just reading books and just being indoors, and you know
Like COVID? What COVID? We've been doing this for 10 years.
exactly. When people used to tell me, COVID, I said, what COVID? I've been like all my life in COVID situation.
So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I think I love what you're saying, about the socializing and how difficult it is to give trust again, and to be able to know boundaries when they were never educated. We never got that education. I realized something also for me in my life is that it's difficult for me to know what is not abuse and what is abuse.
Yeah,
So because I've been so much abused, that it becomes so natural
yeah,
that when someone says, and so now, and maybe that can help you or anyone listening, what I do and what I intend to do is, when I meet someone that I know I'm going to have, a further relationship with, business or otherwise, is to tell them, this is how I am. And how I am is, I am incapable of having uh, the capacity to know where you overstepped on my boundaries. But I know it later. I know
yes,
it the next day. I will realize, wait a minute, they stepped on my boundaries. So you can say that as a means of communication, saying, you know what, if you do something, I might not react immediately, because it takes me maybe 24 hours to realize something was not pleasing to me. So give me that delayed reaction, that in 24 hours I go back to you and say, you know what you did yesterday, I did not appreciate. And
yeah,
also, the other thing I realized for me is, I'm better at writing my feelings than expressing my feelings with people. So you can say that to someone as well. I'm not as good because I'm such a people pleaser that I'm afraid of friction. I don't like, arguments, that
Yes.
I will write to you what displeases me rather than have a conversation about it. So you
True.
can kind of, you know, you need to know who you are and be able to explain to others that this is a disability we live with.
Yes, well,
We have a disability, and we need people to understand that this is our disability. Our disability is that, well, there are days, well, I'm going to lock myself in a room and I'm going to cry all day. And it's not because I'm sad, it's not because of it, it's just because there's something that triggered me during the day, and it brings all the violence back into my life, and there's nothing I can do about it, but just let me be, or just be there so I can put my head on your shoulder. Don't try to fix me. Don't try to
yes,
fix it. It'll just go away like a big wave.
yes.
So we have to explain, I think, and the narcissist um, abused survivors should be considered as a disability. Just like, I feel that I came in this world as having a handicap. Like people have a golf handicap, when they call you. Well, I have this handicap of that abuse. And I think it's something I hope we talk more about, right? So that people understand that we come in the world with this handicap, and we
Have you
should be accepted and not try to force ourselves to blend into the acceptable ways of communicating and being with others. Like, autist people, we know they have their ways of doing things and we approve them. So we should be in a category on our own, right?
have you noticed that when you suffered in narcissism, you tend to attract narcissist people also around you? I've done that.
Yes. And that's also, making us have less trust in many people and
Yeah.
less trust in ourselves. But I think, the way I was just saying that to someone else, the way now I test a lot the people. So I test to make sure they're not narcissists. So I have, all my radars up, and and I listen to all the words, and I really, and I feel I'm healed. I feel I'm healed very much. So now I'm more in confidence of having my boundaries and saying no, and loving myself. It's a process to be able to love oneself, not feel ashamed or guilt or dirtied by other people's actions,
I
and to
started doing that.
understand
Yeah.
that is them, that is not me, right? It has nothing to do with who I am, right?
I started doing that recently. I just started recently, like trying to please myself because my mom, I remember when we were growing up, even if it was like a chicken piece that we were having for lunch together, we had like a family dinner, all the best pieces, like a chicken pieces, like used to go from all my brothers, and the bone pieces were always in my plate. It was the worst of it. Like anything which was not good used to be like just to really with when it comes to food, with anything. But there was sometimes she just wanted to please me because she wanted to show others how much she loves
Oh
me.
yeah, of course.
That she used to do by perming my hair for during Christmas time, and doing something just where people get attention, and everyone is saying, "Oh, your mom is so nice, your mom is so good," And I used to get confused in my head, you know. Oh wow, she's so nice at this minute, round of others, and now everyone is gone, and she's just telling me, and she used to literally make me work like a maid in the house when we used to have maids in the house. So, and I used to wonder what's going on. What am I doing here? But I was a little girl. I never realized what was, when people started, only when my cousin who stayed at my home noticed it day in and day out for 3 days. That's when she realized what was happening to me. Until today, I have not disclosed who that cousin is because I'm just like grateful to her like a angel. And then I had the the nuns, the two nuns, the school where I was studying and the new school that I went, who helped me through. They taught me how to meditate, how to read the Bible and read the Psalms. And I was like even against God. I used to really hate God also, It's like, why did you give me a mother? I used to hate Mother Mary. I used to hate, nothing. God has not done anything good in my life. So that's a kind of a rebel, a poor girl, don't know whom to blame and what to do. It's just struggle. But now after reading, I read a lot about narcissism now. I read a lot, and I've come in terms to say, okay, this is where I suffered. This is what I've been through. This is what I'm going through now. So it's like a wall, where the whole structure drawn out of my life as a timeline. So that's how I'm learning. And I hope people, there is a narcissist in every someone or other, and we fail to see, we don't know who they are. But my way of trickling out who narcissists are, basically what I see is that how good are they with the society? Narcissists are not always, they're always the pleasers type, to see they're self-centered. They're more self-centered. So that's how I see it now.
Well, I'm glad that you're finding your way to the light and to more peace in your life. And, it is a journey. And I think for me, I somehow I still feel blessed to have lived through it. I would have preferred not to, but since I have no choice, I think it gives me more compassion and a better understanding of humans.
Yeah.
Of all the different sides that humanity can have, and potentially, I always I was like you for many years. I really hated God, like viscerally, and said he doesn't exist and everything. And then things changed. Now I'm really I have a lot of faith, and I really believe that it is a path of education we are on. Our soul is kind of in a path of education where our soul being eternal, this portion of life is what our soul needs to be educated to go to another level of enlightenment. That's how I want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but it feels better.
The irony of everything was that I used to say I used to hate God, but at the same time, there were two nuns who played a vital role in my life.
Exactly. That's funny.
The two nuns who were like my mother, they actually, because of them, I survived. You see, they gave me so much. I became so much involved with the Bible. I read the whole Bible. I know all the Psalm. So I become so much in tune with the Bible and with meditation and prayers and hymns, and that kept me going all my life. And that was nothing I could say. But yeah, I think it was a better
paradox. It's kind of it's funny. I like it. It's kind of humor. But yeah, but I'm glad. I'm glad that you're on your way to better things, and everything evolves. We can only be as good as we can be. And I think you said something very important, is to give ourselves love. We need to be really tender with ourselves and be careful with our thoughts. I realized that sometimes I was as mean to me as my mother was without her being around. And so it's always keeping that in mind of, wait a minute, I can talk to myself in a much nicer tone. I don't have to be that harsh. I don't have to beat on myself. I can give myself the best piece of chicken, right? I can give myself the best.
Yeah. That's what I do now. I just say, I say to myself, Mama, you start giving pieces. I'm eating a big piece of chicken now.
Exactly.
And she used to like, give me, sometimes she should not treat me. So I'm no, she would, if I've had fever, I've had cold or flu, she would never let me sleep. Nothing is wrong with you, you're just fussing about, it's until today, I mean, recent years, now I'm okay. Even if I had flu and cold and I'm not sick, I would not sleep, not take rest. I would just get up and do the housework or do whatever I have to do and not look after myself. But now recently I started realizing, no, I'm sick, I need to sleep, I need to be better, be in bed and take rest as much as I can. So this is how I started looking into the ways how I was brought up by her so ruthlessly. And then now I'm gentle and I realize the difference now. That's not the way it is. Even to an extent that I don't want it to be a mother, I just don't wanted to be a mother, have a kid of my own, because having a kid, I might do the same, because I didn't have a good
Same way.
example. I didn't
Yeah.
have a good example from my mother, so I would not want to do that to another child. It might be my own child. I don't want it to be pregnant or have a kid, because I might impose that unconditionally. I mean, unknowingly, not unconditionally, unknowingly knowing that I have no other choice of knowing what was right and wrong. I might do this to another human being and, live with that torture that I have hurted another human being. So that's another reason I just didn't think of having a kid or, going ahead even to that sense. But I know that I'm a harmless person. I cry for even if a plant, I have lovely plants, and if our plant becomes sad, I like be so sad because my plant is sad, and I'll try. But imagine happening for a child, I would not live with that. So yeah, I became very sensitive and very soft to everything and anything in this world because I've been through all that.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I have the same fear. I'm always watching myself to make sure I never become the same, So I'm always being careful to be nicer than what I think is nice, to be even nicer, just to be sure that I don't go into that direction. And the same now, you see, I'm kind of juggling, and I'm kind of tempted with the idea of adopting children. I
Me
think
too. but I would like to have a bigger one who knows that, tells me out, just, you've been bad, or you've been nasty, so that I'm corrected, because for all your life, you've not had the example. And I didn't have a sister, and no girlfriends were close to me as a young girl, because she used to not let any of my girlfriends come either. So it's only in the college days and the age of 15 and 16, when I really grew up, I started having closer friends who could understand. But till then, I was like, just like, so yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. It's the same with me.
who knows, maybe we'll be able to give that love to a couple of kids in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah.
So thank you. If you had an advice to give to people who watch, what would you tell them?
I would say love yourself above everybody else. Everyone has to love themselves first and learn how to love ourselves, because we don't know how to love ourselves, especially when we have been victims of narcissism. We fail, we don't know, no one tells us how, no one teaches us in schools and in colleges, not even our friends. So it's basically learning to love ourselves, and how to love is the most important thing in this world now.
I agree. Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you so much for participating. And
Thank you.
thank you, and thank you for watching this episode. Please subscribe so that you know when we have the next episode available. And hopefully this helps. Go on our website, narcissisticabusevictims.com, or come join our Facebook group. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.